I want to start by telling you what not to do because this is where so many women get wrong when it comes to nutrition. So the biggest thing that I would say is do not cut your carbs. Like keto is not a good diet to do for perimenopausal or menopausal women. Drastically cutting your carbs like that can affect thyroid function. And do not start intermittent fasting, okay? So you can do there are two different types of intermittent fasting. There's time restricted eating, and then there's intermittent fasting. What I am talking about is delaying your first meal from 12 to 1 p.m. You can do a fast where you don't eat after dinner. That's fine. We want to be eating according to your body's natural circadian rhythm. When you wake up, fueling your body. Eating when it's light out. Welcome to Muscle Strength and Menopause, the podcast for women over 40 who refuse to accept that nothing works anymore. I'm your host, Sara, a certified nutrition coach, fitness expert, and hormone and menopause specialist, and the founder of the science-backed Hourglass Body Method. After losing 50 pounds in my 40s and helping hundreds of women transform their bodies and life, I'm here to show you the real way to lose fat, build muscle, and get stronger in midlife without burnout, starvation, or shame. If you're tired of fighting your hormones, struggling with stubborn belly fat, or wondering if it's too late to build the strong, confident body you want, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll break down the science, bust the myths, and share the exact strategies that are working right now for women in perimenopause and menopause. Because muscle is your menopause superpower, and we're about to show you how to claim it. Let's dive in. All right. Hello, ladies. Happy Friday. Hope you're all doing amazing. And I want to welcome you all back to my live recording of my podcast, Muscle Strength and Menopause. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Coach Sara. I'm the host of this show. And I record this show live in my private Facebook community weekly. And today we're going to dive into something I get asked constantly about is, how can I support my hormones or balance my hormones naturally? What are some things that I can do to support myself as I go through, perimenopause, or even if you're post-menopause, and dealing with, a lot of the symptoms that go along with it. You might be dealing with unexplained weight gain, energy crashes that hit you like a truck at 2 p.m., and a body that suddenly feels like it's working against you instead of with you. And you want real actionable solutions that you can implement today. So today we're going to talk about the most two powerful tools you have at your disposal. This is nutrition and exercise or movement. And I'm going to break down exactly what's happening in your body during this hormonal transition, and more importantly, what you can do about it. Because here's the truth. You can work with your changing hormones instead of fighting against it, but you've got to understand what's actually happening first. Okay. So let's start with the basics, because I don't want to just tell you what to do. I want you to understand why it matters. And this is a big, part of our one-on-one coaching component, is that we really try to explain the science to our clients about what's going on with their bodies and why we're implementing the strategies that we need to implement with them. So during perimenopause and into post-menopause, well, at that time, post-menopause is basically when you've got 12 months without a period. Menopause is technically one day. It's the day that you hit 12 months without a period. The day after is considered post-menopause. So for the purpose of me explaining this, you are either in perimenopause, which is 3 to 10 years before you hit that one day of menopause. And then you have post-menopause. And then we have early post-menopause, which is just, the first 5 years of post-menopause. And the thing is that you can experience symptoms well into post-menopause. We have a lot of clients that are like 5 years, 7 years, 10 years post-menopause, still getting hot flashes, still getting night sweats, still dealing with a lot of these hormonal symptoms. So what's happening is that your estrogen and progesterone levels aren't just declining in perimenopause, they're fluctuating wildly. So in perimenopause in particular, some days you might have a surge of estrogen, other days it plummets, and your body is just trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Okay. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. These hormones aren't just about your period. Okay. They affect every system in your body. So I'm going to go over what systems it affects and so that you can understand, how the loss of estrogen and progesterone affects these systems in your body. So first of all, it affects your muscles. So estrogen is like the foreman at a construction site for your muscles. When estrogen is present, it signals your satellite cells. Those are the cells that help build and repair muscle to get to work. But when estrogen drops or declines during perimenopause and then it flatlines pretty much, it stays consistently low after postmenopause, these signals get weaker. This is why you could be doing the same workouts you've always done and suddenly you're not seeing results anymore. Secondly, it affects your metabolism. So progesterone and estrogen work together to help your body use insulin efficiently. So when these hormones decline, your body becomes more insulin resistant. This means your body needs more insulin to do the same job, and there's a communication breakdown about what to do with the glucose. So the result of this is that your body starts storing more fat, especially around your belly. It affects your brain. So estrogen crosses your blood-brain barrier and affects your neurotransmitters, especially serotonin. So when estrogen drops, serotonin drops, and this is why you might be experiencing mood swings, anxiety, and that terrible brain fog where you walk into a room and completely forget where you are, or you can't remember your words. This happened to me. I'd be like, oh my God, what do you call that thing? And like just words were not coming to me. This is a symptom of perimenopause or post-menopause, okay? That brain fog that comes around with it. Okay, the other thing that it drastically affects is your gut, okay? And your gut microbiome. All of those bacteria living in your digestive system, they actually help metabolize and activate your estrogen. So when your hormones change, your gut diversity changes. And when your gut diversity decreases, you get more inflammation, worse sleep, and yes, more belly fat. So when I say I want to balance my hormones naturally, what we're really talking about is how do we support all of these how do we support all of these systems that are being affected by these hormonal changes? So how do we support cortisol? How do we support your gut? How do we support your metabolism? Insulin? How do we support all of these things that are being affected by the loss of estrogen and progesterone? Because obviously we cannot bring estrogen and progesterone levels back up if they're declining. We can support it. We could do things to help for an easier transition. But, really what's happening is that your ovaries are failing. And so they're not producing as much estrogen and progesterone that they were before, essentially because your eggs, you don't have that many eggs to release. And that release of the egg is what stimulates the estrogen and progesterone from being produced monthly. Okay, so let's talk about food first. And see, exactly what we could be doing in terms of food and to help balance out your hormones, okay? So the first thing that we could do, and I want to start by telling you what not to do, because this is where so many women get wrong when it comes to nutrition. So the biggest thing that I would say is do not cut your carbs. Like keto is not a good diet to do for perimenopausal or menopausal women. Drastically cutting your carbs like that can affect thyroid function. And do not start intermittent fasting. Okay. So you can do there are two different types of intermittent fasting. There's time restricted eating, and then there's intermittent fasting. What I am talking about is delaying your first meal from 12 to 1 p.m. You can do basically, I fast where you don't eat after dinner. That's fine. We want to be eating according to your body's natural circadian rhythm. When you wake up, fueling your body, eating when it's light out. If you are going to fast, which is what I do, I typically don't have a snack post dinner. Sometimes I do if I'm in a very big muscle building phase where I'm purposely wanting to consume more calories to help me put on a significant amount of lean muscle. Then I need that fifth snack after dinner, but I typically don't eat in after dinner. And I don't eat until the next morning. That's technically a fast, an overnight fast. But that fasting where, you're not eating in the morning, we don't want to do that. And I know this goes against everything that you maybe hear. Hey, my friend did intermittent fasting. She lost a lot of weight. Okay. But how better would she have been if she didn't do it that way? And what type of weight did she lose? Did she lose muscle and fat, or did she just lose body fat? Because here's the thing, we can do this the right way, where we are protecting your lean muscle mass, which is, I'm going to get into why that's so important. But the most important part of protecting your lean muscle mass is so that we can age better, be stronger, which we also do lose strength as estrogen levels go down. We talked about how that affects your muscle. But you also become more insulin sensitive with more muscle on your body, which is going to help the fact that we become more insulin resistant. So the reason why I advise against keto and intermittent fasting is that your body is already under stress from hormonal changes. Okay. We know that our baseline cortisol levels are elevated during this transition. Okay. And the reason why it's elevated is because your body is adapting to these hormonal changes. So our baseline cortisol levels increase. And then the other thing that we see is that we are more reactive to stress, and our stress goes even higher. So we can't handle stress the way that we did before because our sympathetic drive is off. So when we're restricting food like that, you're adding more stress. Your cortisol goes up and your body goes into preservation mode. And you end up just storing more fat while losing the muscle you desperately need to keep. Okay, so what should we be doing with nutrition? So number one, we want to prioritize protein at every single meal. We want to start our day with a protein-packed meal. And for starters, if you're just starting off, what I do recommend is 30 grams of protein at every meal, including your snack. You can start off with your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but then get another 30 grams in there. This is a good starting point. Okay. But I will tell you, I've spoken to a lot of you in this community and you're like, oh, I'm getting 100 grams of protein in per day. That's what I'm aiming for. I'm sorry to tell you, it's still not enough. Okay. Why? Because as your estrogen declines, your body becomes what we call anabolically resistant. This means your muscles don't respond to protein the same way that they used to. You need more protein to get the same muscle building effect. Okay. And so what I typically recommend is 1 gram of protein per pound of current weight if you're at your current ideal weight. And if you're not, because your goal is fat loss and you want to lose body fat, then it's going to be based on your goal weight. So if your goal weight is 140 or 150 pounds, that's how many grams of protein you need to get in daily. And here's the key. We want leucine-rich protein sources. Leucine is an amino acid that's like a key that unlocks muscle protein synthesis. What does muscle protein synthesis means? It means muscle building to either preserve or build lean muscle. So you need about 2.7 to 3 grams of leucine per meal to trigger that muscle building response. So where are you going to get this from? Good sources of animal protein, like Greek yogurt, chicken breast, eggs. You could do whey isolate protein powder, cottage cheese, low-fat cottage cheese, low-fat Greek yogurt. You could do turkey. You could do beef. You could do fish. Anything that is animal-based is a good protein source. So some are leaner protein sources. Pork can be very fatty protein source. So if you're going to do pork, something like pork tenderloin, ham tends to be lower in a more leaner proteins option. Pea meal bacon, very lean protein option. And if you're plant-based, then we want to do a combination of pea protein combined with rice protein. Okay, this is going to give you that the combination of the two of them gives you the right amount of the leucine that you need. The other thing is don't fear carbs. I see women doing this all the time. Oh, I'm going to just cut my carbs out. Okay, it's not about I understand carbs. There's carbs that are highly processed carbs, and definitely we want to be eating more whole foods, but we need carbohydrates. Okay. Especially if we are going to be strength training and we are active women, you need carbohydrates. Your body preferentially uses carbs during your workouts. And if you don't have them, your body's going to break down hard-earned muscle for fuel instead. The other thing that carbohydrates does is it helps your thyroid function, and it also helps with cortisol. Okay. The other thing is that we are getting a good source of fiber from carbs. So we want to focus on colorful vegetables, lots of fruits, sweet potato, quinoa, oats, these complex carbohydrates. These give you not just carbs, but they also give you the fiber that you need to feed your gut microbiome, which we talked about how the loss of estrogen, and I'll get into that in just a second, affects your gut microbiome. So we need to be fueling with these good high fiber foods. And of course, you can get that from whole wheat breads, whole wheat pastas. You can bring in a lot of these other carbohydrates as well too. But what we do see is with a low carb diet, it does affect your thyroid function, and your thyroid affects your metabolism. So we definitely don't want to go low carb. The other big thing is we want to be eating cruciferous vegetables. Okay. So broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, these vegetables contain something called indole 3-carbinol, which converts to DIM in your body. Now, DIM helps your body metabolize estrogen more effectively. So even though you're producing less estrogen now, you want to make sure that the estrogen that you are producing gets converted into the beneficial forms of estrogen, not the problematic forms that can cause inflammation and increase disease risk. So we want to aim for at least one serving of cruciferous vegetables daily. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage. Those are, the most popular ones. Number 4, we want to feed your gut microbiome. So remember how I said your gut helps metabolize your hormones? You want a diverse, healthy gut microbiome. And here's how. So we could look at some prebiotic foods. So this is going to come from fiber, from colorful fruits, vegetables, whole grains. We could even bring in some things like kimchi, sauerkraut. These are really great prebiotic foods. The more variety, the better. Okay. So think about eating the rainbow daily, half of your plate of veggies, for at least for your lunch and your dinner. You can even add lots of fruits at breakfast time. And the other thing that we really want to do is bring in a good probiotic as our gut diversity changes. Okay. And the specific strains matter here for menopausal women. We want to look at Lactobacillus NCFM for immune support, Bifidobacteria, sorry, this is hard for me to say here, BI07 for gut integrity. We want to look at Lactobacillus reuteri RC14 for vaginal health and reducing UTIs, and then Lactobacillus plantarum for improving iron absorption and your mood. Your gut produces about 95% of your body's serotonin. So when your gut is happy, your mood improves, your sleep improves, and your body composition improves. Number 5, now this is about supplements and supplementation. So there are 3 supplements I recommend for almost every menopausal woman. Number one is creatine. Okay. So you want to have about 3 to 5 grams of creatine daily. You want to go for a creatine monohydrate. I do actually prefer a micronized creatine. This will help you absorb it a little bit better in your gut. And creatine is not for bodybuilders, okay? Creatine helps with muscle strength. It helps with cognitive function, so it can really help with that brain fog that you're getting. It helps with mood regulation and even gut integrity, okay? It improves that fast energy to your cells, which your brain desperately needs during this transition that we're going through. The other thing is protein powder. Okay, we don't want tons of protein powder. We want majority of our protein sources coming from food. But if you need to supplement, once a day with the protein powder, you want to look for whey protein isolate. The one that I recommend is the Diesel brand. I have the link to that in the show notes below. Or you could do like a pea or rice protein blend. Diesel does also have a vegan protein powder as well. This makes it a lot easier for you to hit your protein targets daily. Although, once you become a pro at this, like myself, like the only time I add in protein powder is if I'm cooking with it, like this morning, or I'm adding it to a recipe. Like I had overnight oats this morning, and that included oats, Greek yogurt. I did 40 grams of oats, 150 grams of Greek yogurt, 20 grams of protein powder, vanilla diesel protein powder. And I also added a little bit of high protein milk. You could do Natrel Plus, Lactasia. Just came out with a brand as well too. Fairlife. These are all high protein milks that you can add to it. I like to top mine off with a little bit of coconut, and then I add some extra fiber to it, and that comes from primarily I like to do either an apple, which is very high in fiber, or I'll do something like raspberries, which are really, really high in fiber. And that meal, like that overnight oats, I'm just going to check here. I believe it was 40 grams. I'm going to check here on my chronometer. So this was, this recipe, because I also added my fat to it, was 428 calories with 40 grams of protein, and my goal right now is to get, 140 grams of protein in daily. So, starting off my day like that, all my meals, 40 grams of protein, I'm going to go beyond that, but I typically do 40, 40, which is 120, and then 20 grams of protein for my snack. And that gets me to 140 grams of protein daily. The other thing is collagen. So we start to lose collagen as we age. It's really good for joint health, tendon health, and skin. You could do the type 2 collagen for cartilage support, and then you have type 1 and type 3 for connective tissue support. So that's about nutrition. Now let's get into movement, okay? Let's talk about how we need to move our bodies, because here's the thing. Your hormones used to provide the signal your body needed to build muscle, to burn fat, and maintain bone density. Now that these hormone signals are changing, you need to create that external stressor that signals your body to adapt, okay? And here's what that means. Your workouts that you used to do, the boot camp classes, so many of you are doing these boot camp classes, the F45, the Orange Theory, like these HIIT 45-minute, 1 hour long boot camp classes, they don't work anymore. And I had this client come to work with us. She was doing 2 years of these classes, 2 years. And within like the first 10 months of her working with us, she lost 10 pounds. Okay. And it's because her workouts weren't strategic. Her nutrition wasn't strategic. You don't have estrogen on your side anymore to help you. So that is why your plan needs to be tight. It needs to be precise, and it needs to be specific to you. Okay. So the first thing, so that's not going to work anymore. Long, slow cardio, that's not going to cut it anymore. Light weights with high reps, those 5-pound dumbbells which is typically what happens in those boot camp classes, 5 pounds, 8 pounds, 10 pounds. I spoke to another lady as well too, constantly doing these fitness classes. It's like, well, how heavy are you lifting? 10 pounds. Okay, well, that you've outgrown that. If you've been doing that class for a year, you need to be able to progressively lift heavier. And so you're not giving your body the stimulus that you need to build lean muscle mass. Okay. The bar classes that you love, great for mobility. The Pilates classes, great for isometric work and core work, but it's not going to build the muscle that you need. You need to get strategic. Okay. So the first thing when it comes to training is that you need to learn how to do heavy lifting, heavy resistance training, at least 2 to 4 times per week minimum. And I'm talking about lifting weights that are heavy enough that you can only do 6 reps before you need to rest. And this is called lifting heavy shit in my community. Why? Because heavy lifting does several things. It stimulates your neuromuscular system to recruit more muscle fibers. It creates the stimulus for muscle protein synthesis, even without high estrogen levels. It signals your bones to maintain and build bone density. And it creates the metabolic effect that improves insulin sensitivity. So when it comes to heavy resistance training, you want to be doing a progressive overload training program. So this means it's a set program that you're doing for 4, 6, 8 weeks at a time. You're not going in and switching up your workout every time. This is why, again, those classes don't work. Every week you go, it's a new class. And what you need to be focusing on is compound movement, squats, deadlifts, presses, rows, hip thrusts. And you want to rest minimally 2 to 3 minutes before so that you can fully recover and go back in with maximum effort on your next set. And when you're doing this progressive overload training program, every week you're lifting heavier. And so when our clients come to work with us, we give them a customized workout program and we base it on their activity level, their level of fitness, because obviously you're not going to go in and start lifting super heavy right away. It's going to be relative to you, what heavy is to you. But we have a whole, system that we work with our clients, especially beginners. We work on compound movements first. We work on form and technique. Then we start teaching them how to progressively overload. It's not going to happen overnight, but you need to get to a point where you're lifting heavy. The next thing that we bring into in terms of how to help with your hormones is sprint interval training. Now, again, this might not be something that you could do right away, but eventually we do bring this into our training programs with our clients. So these are short bursts, 30 seconds, all out effort, followed by 2 to 4 minutes of full recovery. Okay. Why do we bring this in? Because this rewires your glucose handling, specifically targets visceral belly fat and creates powerful adaptations in your fast twitch muscle fibers. And this sprint interval training, it can be done on a bike. You could do it running if you like, depending on what you can handle. Rowing machine. If you're at home, I love kettlebell swings, in and out squats, jump squats. There's lots of variety of different exercises that you could do at home for sprint interval training. My personal favorite is a kettlebell swing, or you could even do hill sprints. The key is hard for 30 seconds, all out effort. It's short and you recover fully in between your efforts, 2 to 4 minutes, get your heart rate completely down. This will ensure that we're not, in that medium intensity zone that keeps cortisol high, which is another reason why those boot camp classes don't work well for women in this age range. It keeps your cortisol levels high, which again, where our baseline cortisol levels are already elevated. Now this elevates it even more, and then it causes more inflammation in the body, which if you're inflamed, it's going to be a very hard time for you to make any body composition changes. Next thing we want to bring in is the plyometric and power work. So jump training, box jumps, broad jumps, battle ropes. These create that 360-degree force on your bones that nothing else can replicate. So bone density loss accelerates during menopause, and you need the impact-based training to signal your bones to stay strong. So this is just important as we continue to age because we are at a higher risk of osteoporosis. And if you can't jump due to joint issues, knee issues, you could do box step-ups with an explosive push-off. You could do medicine ball throws, battle ropes, pool base jump training. All right. So we covered all of that. Let's go into your action steps. So what can you do today? First of all, if I'm going to say to start off with anything in terms of nutrition, get that 30 grams of protein in at breakfast, lunch, dinner, and your snack, or you start off with that. Okay. Use a food tracking tool like Chronometer, weigh your food out so that you know exactly how much protein you're getting in. One of the biggest misconceptions that are out there is that, and I try my best to educate you ladies around this, but this is one of the biggest misconceptions is that if you weigh a piece of chicken and it's 100 grams, that means it's 100 grams of protein. No, it does not. 100 grams of chicken, I think I'm going to look this up right now. So chicken breast, boneless, skinless, 100 grams is only 30 grams of protein. I thought that was it, but I just wanted to make sure that that's what it was. So use a tool like Chronometer to track your food. And do not think that weighing your food, like I had a lady do like my 7-day challenge, and she's like, wow, I always resisted weighing my food, but what a wake up call that was to actually realize what my protein sources and protein portions look like. It's not about being obsessive or anything like that. It's about like education around your nutrition. How much protein are you actually getting in? And you will not know that until you use, like, we have these free apps like there. Chronometer is the best one. I'll link it in the show notes. Free apps. I love Chronometer way better than MyFitnessPal. I just find it's way more user friendly. You can figure out more of how much of your nutrients you're getting in. I just find it way more user friendly as the user interface. But you could use MyFitnessPal as well too. If that's what you've used and you've chosen to use that, no problem. You continue to use that. But if you're new, start tracking your protein. The next thing is add cruciferous vegetables daily. So aim for 1 serving per day. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, or cabbage. Steam them, roast them, add them to meals, make a salad out of them. Now you can get like that cabbage and Brussels sprout slaw, right? Like that's already pre-done and shredded. Like make a salad out of it. These support your healthy estrogen metabolism. The next thing is let's feed your gut. So at least 5 to 7 different colored fruits and vegetables, throughout the week, different ones. Add 1 probiotic rich food daily. So Greek yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, or kimchi. Sorry, that's prebiotic rich foods. And then you can also bring in a probiotic supplement that I mentioned earlier. Those are the main 3 things that I would say to get started with in terms of your nutrition. Now, when it comes to exercise, movement, if you want to start working out, block out 2 to 4 specific training days in your calendar right now. Treat these like non-negotiable appointments that you're going to follow through with it. Get a progressive overload strength training program and start with mastering heavy lifting. So choose your compound movements, squats, deadlifts, presses, rows, lunges, hip thrust. Use a weight where you can only, if you're just starting off, you want to be within the 8 to 10 rep range, but then eventually get to the 4 to 6 rep range. Make sure you're resting in between your sets. So you want to do about 3 to 4 sets, and rest at least 90 seconds, a minute and a half to 2 minutes in between your sets. It is crucial for recovery in between your sets. The other thing too is like make sure you warm up with some dynamic movements before your workout. You don't want to be injuring yourself. Spend about 10 minutes doing a dynamic warm up, and then also stretching afterwards. Really important. And daily movement baseline. So walk, get your steps in. If you can't do it all at one time, get these like walking snacks in throughout the day. Like as soon as I wake up in the morning, I go on the treadmill and I walk for 15 minutes. I normally will go for another 15-minute walk after lunch, and then I do another 15-minute walk after dinner, and that's 45 minutes of walking that I've got in throughout the day. I'm going to hit my 8 to 10K steps daily, okay? Walking is not the same as exercise. This is just to help you manage stress. It lowers cortisol levels, and it also helps with managing your blood sugar levels, especially after a meal, which I talked about earlier. We do become more insulin resistant as we go through perimenopause and menopause. The other thing I would say is make sure you are recovering. It is not good to be working out 7 days a week. We need more recovery now than we did before, because recovery is actually when your body builds muscle. So you want to be taking at least 2 to 3 rest days per week, like even a full rest day. Definitely walking every day. You got to walk every day. But, some of them you could do gentle yoga. You can do like more of an active recovery day. Sleep, super important. And I know a lot of you have difficulty sleeping. And I'll do another podcast around sleep and how to get better quality sleep. But you want to sleep at least 7 to 9 hours per night. This is when your body actually builds muscle and burns fat. And the other thing that I would recommend is make sure if you're doing a 4-day workout, I like to do upper lower body split. So I give my body enough time to recover. Because if you are sore, if you are tired, or you're feeling run down, you're not going to build muscle like that, right? Your body is still recovering from that workout. So those are the main things that I would recommend for action steps for you to do right away to support your movement, to support your hormones, and help balance hormones like cortisol, insulin, ghrelin, and leptin. These are your hunger, and your ghrelin is your hunger hormone. Leptin is your fullness hormone. We tend to see that estrogen also affects that as well too. Your body is changing. And what's happening is that your body is entering a new biological state. And so it needs a different support. So the strategies that worked for you in your 20s and 30s, they were designed for a different hormonal environment. Now you need to work with your current physiology, not against it. This means eating more to fuel your body with the proper macronutrients, training smarter, not longer, focusing on strength, not just weight loss, and prioritizing recovery as much as effort. So when you align your nutrition and movement with your body, with what your body actually needs right now, amazing things happen. You build muscle, you lose belly fat, your energy stabilizes, your mood improves, your sleep gets better. But it requires letting go of the old playbook and embracing this new approach. So if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, Sara, this all makes sense, but where do I even start? I've got you, okay? I run a free 7-day hormone reset and fat loss starter challenge. It starts every Monday. And this is literally designed to help you take those first crucial steps that we talked about, okay? So for 7 days, the first thing is that you're going to focus on getting 30 grams of protein in at each meal. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. I'm going to give you meal ideas. You get a 14-day meal plan. You get my recipe book. You get a list of foods that have 30 and 40 grams of protein in it. It's simple. It's not complicated. Second, it's about daily moving, walking. Okay. Nothing crazy, nothing intimidating, just consistent daily movement that supports your metabolism without adding more stress to your system. And third is learning to track your food. Okay. Like I talked about, bringing that awareness to what is going in your mouth. What typically women find is that their diet is high fat, high carb, low protein. And we need to get it more higher protein and a good balance between carbohydrates and fats. Plus, when you join the challenge, and I'll put the link to join the challenge in the show notes, you'll get access to my free hormone and metabolic assessment. So this is your assessment. The same assessment that we use with our one-on-one clients to identify exactly what's going on with your body. Are you dealing with insulin resistance? Is there cortisol dysregulation? Is there low energy availability? Once we know what's actually happening, we put together a specific plan that's tailored to your needs, not just a specific generic approach. So if you're ready to stop guessing, you want to put this into action, go to the links in the show notes and sign up for the 7-day challenge. It's free. It's completely free. Okay. And I do this free challenge because I want to give you the tools to take action today. And I promise you, these 7 days can completely shift how you feel in your body. Okay. For example, I'm going to read you day 4 of an email that I got from someone that's doing the 7-day challenge just in 4 days. I feel so much better. My sleep is great. I don't have food cravings. I actually feel full after each meal. I truly think I'm eating higher than 30 grams of protein at each meal. No junk, exercising. But last night I went for a brisk walk instead of an exercise class. And I have lots of energy. I'm happy. So the exercise class is something that I have to talk to her about, and maybe she'll listen to this podcast and know more about that, but she'll do an assessment and then I can go over that at that time. So that's day 4, and I can read you lots of other replies that I get. So you get daily emails from me, you get training videos to watch, and then you also will complete this assessment. It's actually, I've gotten lots of great feedback from this 7-day challenge. People love it. All right. So that's what I've got for you today on how to balance your hormones naturally through food and movement. Remember, strategic protein, gut health, heavy lifting. These are your power tools during this transition. If you found this helpful, please share it with a friend or share it on your Instagram and tag me on it. If you have women that are in this phase, friends that are in this phase of your life. And if you're not following me already, please go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I'll put the link to that in the show notes, but Sara_Frenza, or come join my free Facebook community. You can watch me live, record this podcast and ask me questions. Okay. Until next time, ladies, keep lifting heavy, eat whole foods, and remember, you're not getting older. You are getting stronger. We will talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to the Muscle Strength and Menopause podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you hit the follow, leave a 5-star review, or share this with another woman over 40 who needs to hear this message. And if you're ready to stop working against your hormones and start building the muscle that becomes your menopause superpower, visit sarafrenzafitness.com to learn about my one-on-one coaching program using my signature hourglass body method. Remember, this isn't your decline, ladies. This is your comeback. And so I hope you tune in again next week. Now, before we go, a quick reminder, this podcast offers health, nutrition, and fitness information for entertainment and educational purpose only. Always consult with your physician or healthcare professional for any health-related questions. And remember that any information provided here is at your own risk.